Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com presents the Strength Coach Podcast, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 299 of the Strength Coach Podcast, the official podcast of Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. Check them out at PerformBetter.com. All right, I'm your host, Anthony Renner. The show notes are located at my site, ContinueFit.com. It's also where you can find out more about my book, Be Like the Best, and the Be Like the Best workbook. The book consists of 50 interviews with top fitness pros, and after each interview is a Be Like, which is just an action step or a challenge that will help you be like the best. Check it out at ContinueFit.com or BeLikeTheBest.com. All right, today on the TrainHeroic.com Coach's Corner, spoke to Coach Boyle about some issues with scheduling due to restrictions and lots of uncertainty in the schools. We spoke about the article, Wealth is What You Don't Spend, and his thoughts on the latest Creatine Research, or some stuff on depression that has been talked about a lot lately. So we'll talk to him about that. For the TrainHeroic data-driven coaching segment, Adam, Dawdy, and Tim Robinson discuss jobs to be done, which is just really looking at your customer and understanding the problem that needs to be solved. And they're going to talk all about how this relates to the training business. Coach Boyle and I use TrainHeroic to deliver all of our online training, and they just launched plans that start as low as $10 a month. They also have a free 14-day trial. Mention I sent you. Coach Boyle and I will put a 4-week athlete development program into your account absolutely free. If you're a coach looking for the best online training solution in the game, go to TrainHeroic.com to start your free 14-day trial. All right, for the BodyByBoyleOnline.com, hit the gym with the Strength Coach segment. I have on Pat VanGalen. Pat's the owner of Active and Agile, maximizing mobility throughout the ages. She's an expert in helping people as they age stay active and agile. She really helps people prepare for an active lifestyle into their senior years. And this is not just for, hey, I don't train anybody 60 or 70. She's talking about getting people to understand this in their 30s and 40s. We talked about replicating the playground inside the gym. And we also really focused on her article, Buckets and Baselines, the Simple Seven. Simple Seven, that includes spirit, stability and suppleness, speed, skills, strength, stamina, and specificity. So we're going to go a little deeper on each of those. All right, pretty exciting. We have 2 new segments starting today. I talked about them a couple weeks ago, but we have the Fit to Speak segment with Jenny Rearick, and Jenny's a communication and presentation skills coach. She's on a mission to teach fitness and sport professionals how to elevate their careers using communication skills. She believes communication is the most powerful career tool that we have, and too many of us haven't been taught how to use it. I totally agree with her, and that's why we're doing this segment. In this segment, you're going to hear about everything from public speaking to listening skills to managing difficult conversations to writing better emails. I can vouch for Jenny. Besides being handicapped by her husband, Brendon, she's coached me personally on some public speaking, and it's really helped me. And I think it's kind of trickled into the podcast as well. So looking forward to this segment. Jenny does some really great stuff. We also have the Certified Functional Strength Coach segment from Brendon, Rearick, and Kevin Carr. And this segment's going to cover a wide variety of topics that will not only help you become a better coach, and if you listen to the last episode, you know Brendon just released Coaching Rules, his new book. But they're going to go into a lot deeper into the why of movement and just really the benefits of different things that they're doing. And they do a lot of different things. They put out a lot of content. I'm really excited for this segment as well. And this episode actually starts a 3-part series on movement as medicine, which is actually the name of their company. And it's discussing a wide array of benefits exercise has on physical, emotional, and psychological health, which is really important now during all this COVID and quarantining, et cetera, et cetera. And Kev's going to talk today about the benefits of walking in the woods. So lots of things to get to. So let's get on the phone with Coach Boyle. All right, now it's time for the StrengthCoach.com Coach's Corner with Coach Boyle. StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information. You can try it out for 30 days. Yep, 30 days, just $1. We're doing that until all gyms are open, which might be for a while. And you'll have access to all the articles, videos, programs, as well as the best forum on the net. It's the only place you can have full access to Coach Boyle. He's on every day. He's answering questions. Check that out at StrengthCoach.com. Coach, how you doing?
I am doing all right, Anthony. Trying to survive all this. The COVID shit's getting worse. So I'm going to make my prediction now that we're going to get another shutdown Thanksgiving to January 2nd. That's like what they're doing with all the schools. I think they're going to tell everybody to close everything up and.
Interesting.
That's my prediction. So you heard it here first.
All right. I was wrong about my October pre-election shutdown. I assumed it was definitely going to happen then, but obviously it didn't. But, it does bring up a good point. I think Nate, I always pronounce his name wrong. Backel, I think is how you pronounce it. He was talking about, this has really been tough on strength coaches. I know I have my hockey player who goes to Kent, and we adjust all the time because he's playing for, he didn't go to Kent and he's only doing Kent online. And this is because Kent isn't playing any games and they're just practicing with each other and they're lifting. And so he's coming, he figured it would be better to stay home, and he's playing with the River Rats up by you. The split season, normally it's a split season team for him, and now he's playing a full season just to skate. But even that's been disrupted because you couldn't play inside in Mass, so they've had to go to Connecticut and New Hampshire. And so it's a crazy schedule, and we have to work it out week by week, trying to get the most out of lifting for him. But it's been a little, we just talked about Michaela. She was supposed to start on November 20th for RMU hockey, Robert Morris hockey, and they had to cancel that, and that's going to December. So have you found that it's just been crazy with the schedules from your clients as well?
Not as much with our clients as with the kids. The clients, we've been pretty lucky and we've been okay in terms of not having a lot of issues here. So that seems to be working out. I'm just fearful because the numbers are going up. The sad part here is that we're seeing a lot of people who are asymptomatic or who have cold symptoms, but people are getting freaked out by the numbers, and it's the number of positive tests that make people nervous. So I think hospitalizations and a lot of that stuff is actually down relative to the numbers, but I still just think it's too easy to say, hey, everybody, let's take the month of December off. It's Christmas anyway. I mean, here they're telling you how many people you can have at Thanksgiving. It's absurd, the level that this has gotten to. But what are you going to do?
I just got a meme. Somebody sent me a meme yesterday because I work with Governor Cuomo's former assistant secretary, whatever. And he said, oh, send this over to him. And it was like this half of Cuomo's head looking into somebody's home on Thanksgiving, like counting the number of people, So, yeah, it is getting a little crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. One of my friends posted a good one that said something to the effect of, you can have 30 people at a funeral and only 10 people at Thanksgiving. So I'll be holding a funeral on Thursday for my pet turkey.
I saw one of those too. I did see that, yeah. And Alan Cosgrove just posted. San Diego is these strip bars are now allowed to open, but they're closing gyms. So it's just crazy what's going on in California too. They've been closed for 8 months now.
I know. I don't know how he's surviving. To be honest, the poor guy. I said I think we could probably. We'll survive another month if it happens, but because we've actually come back reasonably well. So
yeah. Also, I think more people are prepared, and I'm not saying hopefully hopefully we don't have a shutdown, but at least a lot of these gyms, the smarter ones anyway, got their online stuff going. They got almost like we're able to beta test it as well. So if something happens again, I think the transition to the shutdown will be so much easier for so many of these smaller gyms.
I hope so. Yeah. As I said, it doesn't, I mean, this whole thing doesn't bode well for the small gym owner anyway, because if you were someone who didn't have a lot of cushion, and we've talked about this before, you're probably either out of business or very close to being out of business anyway.
But look, again, it's not how many times you get knocked down; it's how many times you get up, right? And the bottom line is, what did you learn from this? And you even posted an article about this fact about it was really about wealth. Wealth is what you don't spend, and they use the analogy of kind of people treat wealth like they do fat loss sometimes, or working out, right? Where people will say, get a workout in and think they can go and eat. And most of the time, if they're trying to lose weight, they think they get this great workout in, and they basically just ate twice as many calories as they burnt off, because they've overestimated the amount of calories that they burned. Which, by the way, we did a finisher today. I did a finisher with Dante on the assault bike, and I made him kind of simulate like 5 or 6 shifts. So 5 on, 15 off, times 3, and then a minute kind of just going easy. We did that 5 or 6 times, and it was brutal for him. And it was 83 calories. So it just goes to show you, but it's a similar thing. Like, maybe people will start to understand, like, there's some things, some expenses you don't need, you didn't need. You're starting to see these things, and hopefully you're saving a little extra money for that rainy day.
Yes, that was actually Jenny Rearick sent me that article, which was really good. I loved the analogy of thinking. It really is the same in terms of, people make more money, so they spend more money. People do more exercise, so they eat more food. It's the ability to make more money and save more money that benefits you. And it's the same thing. It's the ability to do more exercise and not eat more food that causes fat loss. So it is very similar, and it's up on Strength Coach, so people can just go look. I threw the link up there.
Yeah, and I will say, you've been talking about that for a long time. Just with the funny thing is about you, and talked about how many homes you've had and flipped, etc. But you certainly could have been in some kind of a McMansion somewhere all these years and just sat on that with a mortgage, and you still would have been fine. But you did the right thing and sacrificed maybe some of those comforts for the future, which was the right way to go.
Absolutely. And we said, it's funny because sometimes Mark particularly will look at someone's house and think, why don't we have a house like that? And I always say, because I don't want a house like that. I said, we could afford to have a house like that if we wanted to, but that does not make sense to me. So we've always lived below our means, particularly when it came to things like that. And that's why now, as you said, we're in the position that we're in now because we have consistently lived below our means. If I could just have the beer money back, I would really be in a good spot right now. But
yeah, let's not get crazy. I mean, you can't. There's only so many vices you can get rid of, right?
Exactly.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about. There's been some research lately about creatine, which is like one of the most researched supplements. I think it is the most researched supplement there is. And now there's new research talking about, maybe about depression, helping with depression. And you seem to have caught the bug on this as well. And did you buy some for that specific reason?
I ordered creatine for that specific. Well, I mean, not as much. I'm not depressed, but I think the brain health part. And I remember Brendon Marcellus saying this to me years ago about with concussions, they were finding that creatine was helping people with concussions. But I kind of, it's the same thing we talk about all the time. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. Then I saw this study on depression, and I thought, wow, this would be something interesting to try to see. Will there really be a cognitive change? Because one thing you do notice as you get older is that obviously sometimes, we always talk about, I'm struggling for the word. What's that word? That kind of thing. And I figure, what can it hurt, right?
Yeah,
in the shake.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of related a little bit. I took athletic greens. I was taking every morning since I think February or January, and I just stopped recently. But a part of me was I never really felt any different, but also I didn't get sick at all. Zero, nothing. Obviously with COVID and, whatever, I didn't get anything. I didn't catch any cold. I was, might have felt under the weather like 3 or 4 times in that time. But I always wonder, I'm like, well, if I didn't feel anything overwhelming, but at the same time, I didn't get sick. Similar to what you talked about a long time ago, and we used to talk about this is just maintaining as you get older, maintaining strength. Is that really gaining? Because normally you lose strength, you lose power. So if we can at least maintain it as we get older, we know we're kind of beating that like 4% power decrease. So I felt like it's a similar thing. I don't know if we start taking creatine. I know Brendon Rearick said he's taking it every day, him and Jenny. And I don't know if we'll feel anything differently, but maybe it's something where it's going to stave off that small decline.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. Because I don't take the athletic greens. I use the Barleans, which is a different product, because they have a chocolate one, which I like better. Some of the green products ruin your shake. I feel like it tastes like a shake made with grass. So I use the Barleans one. But I do that, and I take, and I've said this a bunch of times on the site, I take a lot of supplements. But and I'll be honest, this is funny, but I fell yesterday in the stands, looking at my phone, walking up in the stands, going to watch Mark's game, and literally fell over backwards, went down a full row, landed on my back, and got up like, okay, I'm fine. I'm okay. People were like, oh my God, like screaming, like, you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Just reading this email and wasn't paying attention. But so you don't really know, except that, I didn't break anything. I didn't bruise anything. I didn't cut anything. And I'm talking, I didn't just fall on the ground. I fell backwards down an extra 18 inches and landed, across a bench. But I think the things that you don't know how good the things you're doing for your body are, because you don't notice the absence of decline. You're not declining, but you don't see that. I remember years ago when I first started taking glucosamine and chondroitin, one of my friends, actually it was Steve Ward that was working for, then ended up working for Perform Better, but Steve Ward said that you have to remember, you won't notice the absence of pain like you notice pain. And I always thought about that. So you don't notice when you feel better. You don't think, oh, I feel so much better. You just realize that you feel good. You get out of bed, you feel good. So I think, whether it's creatine or whether it's glucosamine or whether it's vitamin D or whether it's fish oil or whatever, why not? All of these things are so much better for you and so much healthier than the medicines that doctors will prescribe you. I mean, I look at the side effects of some of the medicines and think, I'm not taking that. Why would I ever take that? I mean, there's a million things that could go wrong and not enough that can go right.
Mike, you don't need to say it specifics, but are you on do you take any medications?
No, then the doctors are always surprised. I take no medications at all, zero.
Yeah.
So I'm 61 years old, zero medications, no heart medication, no blood pressure medication, nothing. But I do take, and the funny thing is the doctors are always, kind of almost, they've gotten away from being surprised at the supplements, but they always kind of look a little bit cross-eyed at you because, when they say, well, what are you taking? I'm like, oh, I take, like I said, vitamin D and glucosamine and vitamin D. And I think those of us who have taken good care of ourselves are ahead of the game, ahead of the curve. But most people don't. I guess they don't want to acknowledge it. So, and you'll see if I get really smart, if I start saying really smart things or writing some really good articles in the next 6 months, you'll know it's the creatine.
Yeah, I mean, if we all of a sudden we see that, it's really going to be judged by the article folder on your computer, the upcoming article folder, the article idea folder. That's
because I got great feedback on my 4 exercises that no one should do article. I thought that.
Brother, man, I was shocked, and I'm just really glad that I don't get the hate. I'm the one obviously who made that, whatever we want to call it, ad. Oh, and we're going to go I want to talk about that in a second, but it is an ad because somebody said in your thing was clickbait. First of all, when I was a kid, and I still am, clickbait was called an ad, people. Clickbait, it's not the same thing. Clickbait, if we put a woman with large breasts and said, you won't believe what Mike Boyle just said about exercises, that would be clickbait. But I put a quote from you in the article and 2 pictures of the exercises that you legitimately don't use. And people think, am I trying to stir people up a little bit? Of course I am. I want them to click on the link to go to strengthcoach.com, and I also want them to read the article. But it's not clickbait. That is not clickbait. For all you people that think it's clickbait, well, those people probably aren't listening, but it's not clickbait. So anyway, but I'm just glad I don't get the hate. Once you reposted on your site, man, they came out in droves literally within the first half hour.
I know. Well, it is the first half hour because those are the people that are just waiting for me to say something. But my thing, and that the good thing is I kind of get the video out of that the next day or 2 days later because I can respond to the comments. And it's very interesting in the comments that people, and I had this, I talked to Jonas Dodo about this. He said, one of the things that he said, and I think I might have said it to you on the podcast, I'm not sure, is that people fear my opinion because my opinion has weight. So when I say I don't like something, it really bothers people because people think, oh, because Mike said that, people might not do this anymore. So if you're a proponent of whatever it is, weighted dips or behind the neck pull downs, you really get bothered. Triggered might be the word of the year by these types of posts. But the reality is I am posting my opinion about, and that's what I said, what I think. It's the same thing I'd say in a staff meeting. If someone started doing behind the neck lat pull downs, I would tell them in a staff meeting, don't do that. I don't like that position. I don't think it's a shoulder friendly position. I think it has a high orthopedic cost, all the things that we talk about. But it is amazing how much negative reaction that stuff can generate. And I just got a really good compliment today because Pat Stefanski, one of the staff, said one of his friends thinks that I'm the best internet trolling of anybody that he knows.
Yeah.
And I don't try. It's crazy. I'm not trying. I really am not trying to be controversial. I am trying to write. So I'm trying to come up with content type ideas. And this was just, I said, Vince Gabriel's newsletter, this 4 exercise thing. Okay. I liked that. I kind of latched onto that. But then I thought, what about 4 that I don't think anybody should do? But I guess I should be really clear in my titles. 4 exercises that I personally don't think that anyone should do. That might be better.
Yeah. Also, I think, look, the bottom line is, what am I going to do? I'm trying to promote it, and I'm going to take the quote that I think sometimes sums up what the most, what the article says. And then also, really, am I trying to be get the most controversial? And I'm gonna get one that people are gonna say, "Ooh, I need to see about this." But it's still, that quote was in the article. I wrote, "It doesn't matter if you are old or young; these are just bad choices." That was what you said in the article. So, but yeah, I do. I think you certainly, people are afraid because they're doing them, and they're maybe they're embarrassed that they're doing them. Maybe there's a hint of, well, they could be bad for you. Of course they could. So, yeah, it's an interesting, when you post some of those things, it's so interesting. I think people just like me better too, so they don't really bring the hate.
I know. Or they think that I have this great talent for developing these quote unquote ads, memes, whatever it is that you put up on the sites are
exactly.
I repost, but they think, wow, Mike Boyle's really good with that stuff.
All right, Coach, well, we're going to let you go. Thanks for doing this, and we'll speak to you next time.
All right, thanks, Dan.
All right, guys, right now at Perform Better, it's the huge holiday sale, 40% off select items, over 100 items on sale. Do not miss this. This is one of their big ones of the year. You do not want to miss it. Guys, remember, pro tip as well, if you don't see something, call them. Or if you see something that says out of stock, call them. They're super helpful. They can tell you when things are coming back in stock, but they're pretty much running pretty high in stock right now for everything. But hey, holiday season's coming. People think there's some shutdowns coming, so get to performbetter.com. Check out the new holiday sale.
Hey, this is Adam.
This is Tim.
Welcome to the TrainHeroic Data-Driven Coaching segment.
Let's do it.
So Tim and I were talking, and with another wave of shutdowns possibly looming here, we thought we'd trot out a topic that was relevant the first time around, and understanding it will serve you well regardless. So, and that's the topic of jobs to be done. And let's define that real quick. So, like a job to be done, it comes from the product world, and it's essentially just a way of looking at your customer and understanding the actual problem they need solved.
Right.
And so briefly, we don't have to turn this into like a tutorial on the nitty gritty of jobs to be done, but there's a formula to it. And the most important parts are like, it's, so who you're talking about, right? When, so there's a context, when I'm hungry, when I need to exercise, like whatever we're talking about. The last two parts, the parts we should probably zero in on, which is like, I want so that, right? Yeah. I want something to happen so that either something else happens, right? I get a functional benefit, or I feel a certain way.
Right.
That emotional or, that sensation that the person receives from an experience is just as valuable as anything else in a lot of cases.
Yeah, exactly. And let me know if I'm off base here, Adam, but I think of a jobs to be done statement. It's really getting to the root, right? This is what my person wants to achieve at the end of whatever it is whatever journey they've set forth on. But it provides guardrails, right? Because you don't want to be trying or attempting to add value or do something with features, which we'll touch on, that may not have an effect on the jobs to be done. So that might have been a little bit convoluted, but what I'm saying is you don't want to create something that has no value to people. Okay. You want to create something that's going to keep them working towards that end job to be done, right? Those two last sentences you kind of said. And we do the same thing here at TrainHeroic. We talk to coaches all the time, and being a software company, they want coaches believe that they want these specific features inside the actual software. But we kind of go 3, 4, 5 layers deep to find out what is it specifically and exactly you want to get done, because there may be another way around it, which wouldn't, cause for us to create a brand new, software or product line just to solve that individual problem. Is that right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, you kind of said a lot of stuff there, but yeah. So you're right, and Tim said something about features, right? And features are the things that you provide to solve these problems, to address the jobs to be done, right?
Yeah.
And it's very tempting to just keep adding features to anything. It could be a product like TrainHeroic. It could be a service like personal training, right? Yeah. And it's tempting to just keep adding more stuff. And sometimes it doesn't provide value, and it has a cost, right? Because there's a cost to providing whatever.
Yeah.
Or it actually, even worse, can mean that you're just missing the point. Meaning like, oh, I'm going to build this thing because wouldn't it be neat, or wouldn't it be nice if? But if you're not already addressing the core job to be done, like you're going to have a hard time there.
Exactly, and this is why it's important with kind of the context shifting, possibly with maybe gym closures or you're not being able to see people person to person. I think the underlying principle here is the job to be done for the people you're serving probably won't change all that much, but the tactics you use or the features you implement as the coach may have to adjust a little bit to still get to that job to be done. So just because gyms are closed doesn't mean people's goals change. It just means the way we kind of tactically attack to achieve those goals might change as a coach.
Right. And so, and I mentioned this, it came up the first time around with some lockdowns that like, oh man, I can't do the exact same thing remote that I was doing in person. Well, no, you can't. You can't provide the same features, right?
Yes.
Now, can you solve the same basic core jobs to be done? In a lot of cases, yeah. And especially if it's like a temporary measure, right? It's like it's a little kind of like, it's a little bit of a detour on our journey kind of thing.
Adam's making funny hand motions with his hand.
You can't see on the radio, But no, it is. It's like, well, okay, can I solve the problem? And like, this is just a specific example because we've been kind of vague. Yeah. If your population, like many of our athletes, are really just people who really mostly just need to exercise consistently and feel good about it, there's a lot of ways to achieve that.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Now, there can be a lot of little pieces to those jobs. Like when I exercise, I want to know what I'm doing, to know that I'm doing it right. Like there's lots of little like things in there that they want to solve for. But like, yeah, if the goal is really just to provide, like, to keep them accountable to exercising, probably can be achieved. Right.
Yeah,
If you're saying like, well, no, they have to do cleans and jerks. I'm like, well, sorry, that's not going to happen. Right.
right. And when it comes to specific performance like that, when you have a very hyper specific goal, you're just going to have to get a little bit more creative with your coaching. But the job to be done still doesn't change. There's
still an opportunity there because these people are in a bind and they need somebody with some genius and creativity and the know-how. Say, you know what? I can still, you're not going to improve specifically your clean, right? But the functional outcome of, say, some kind of power output, right? Yeah, I bet we can do something with that from home. I bet we can keep you like in shape at least. I bet we can keep you progressing in some sense or feeling like you're making progress.
100%.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Go to TrainHeroic.com, start your 14-day free trial. We got new pricing in there starting at $9.99 to suit any kind of coach.
Welcome to the Certified Functional Strength Coach segment. My name is Kevin Carr, and today I'm going to kick off part one of a 3-part series titled Movement is Medicine, where we discuss the wide array of health benefits that exercise has on our physical, emotional, and psychological health. Today, we're going to discuss how a walk outside in the woods can boost your immune system, improve your aerobic health, and reduce your likeliness of chronic diseases. You might be thinking to yourself, this is the Strength Coach podcast. Why do I care about walking in the woods? But there is actually an overwhelming amount of research demonstrating the value of combining aerobic exercise with the great outdoors and the effect that it can have on our physical and emotional states. Recently, Japanese researchers have made some amazing discoveries in a study titled The Effects of Forest Bathing on Natural Killer Cell Activity and Stress Hormone Levels. Natural killer cells are about as cool as their name implies. They're lymphocytes in our immune system that respond to a wide array of pathological challenges. And forest bathing, or shirin-yoku, as it's called in Japanese, means a leisurely walk in the forest. In separate studies of city-bound men and women, researchers found that walking in the woods for 2 hours a day over the course of 3 days significantly increased natural killer cell production and activity, while also simultaneously reducing sympathetic stress hormones, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. This is amazing to hear, as natural killer cells are a vital component of our immune system, whose main function is to kill tumors and virus-infected cells. This is massively important if you consider the current health crisis we are facing due to COVID-19. What's most exciting about this study is that natural killer cell production and activity did not only respond acutely to forest exposure, but stayed chronically elevated for 30 days following the subject's last hiking experience. Think about the implications that just 6 hours a month in nature could have on your long-term health. Take this information into account along with the overwhelming evidence there is for the value of aerobic exercise. We know that aerobic training has a huge impact on cardiovascular health, Alzheimer's development, blood glucose levels, anxiety, depression, and so much more. So if you're looking to boost your own health or add some extra value to your clients' programs, think about intentionally programming some time for outdoor exercise. Try working in 30 minutes of outdoor hiking, biking, running, swimming, or paddling twice a week to your existing strength training routine. This small and weekly intentional effort can have massive effects on your long-term health. For a full article with research references on this very topic, head on over to certifiedfsc.com, and I'll see you here next time.
Welcome to the Fit to Speak segment. My name is Jenny Rearick, and today we're going to talk about 3 things you need to do to build instant rapport with your clients and athletes. People who are able to build immediate positive rapport with others share 3 common behaviors. First, they make direct eye contact with whomever they're engaged with. Second, they are curiously ignorant when getting to know others. And third, they speak plainly. They use words that are easy to understand and say only what needs to be said. Why would it be important to you that you build positive rapport quickly? Because people commit to people that they like and trust. If your success as a coach is partially determined by the results you get for your clients, or the improvements your athletes see in their performance, you need them to have a positive first impression of you and believe that you understand them and have their best interests at heart. Secondly, even if you only meet someone in passing, if you can create a strong positive first impression, you build that rapport, they're more likely to remember you in moments of opportunity, whether that be considering you for a job, considering hiring you, or recommending someone else your way. If we go back to those 3 common behaviors you need to practice in order to build instant rapport, the first was to make eye contact. When you're engaging with someone, look at them in the eyes when you speak and when they're speaking to you. Eye contact is the most obvious nonverbal cue that you're giving your full attention, and it sends a strong signal to the other person that you find them important enough to listen to them. When people look us in the eyes, we feel important, we feel respected, and we like them more. The second behavior is to be curiously ignorant when you listen. How do you do that? You have to play dumb. You must convince yourself that any preconceived notions you have about this person are false and only they know the truth. Make it your goal to uncover something interesting about this person. I find the best time to practice this frame of mind is when I meet someone who's shy or who I don't feel that immediate connection with, or there's a coldness in our immediate connection. I remind myself that this person is not uninteresting or boring. I just haven't done the work to uncover what makes them interesting. Each person we interact with has something that they like to talk about. We have to figure out what that is. And the third behavior is that people who are able to build instant rapport speak plainly. They use words that they're certain their audience will know and understand. The moment you use an unfamiliar word or you talk about a topic that the person or people you're speaking to is unfamiliar with, you distance yourself from those people, which is the opposite of rapport. Rapport comes from establishing common ground. One technique that I like to use is what's referred to as language style matching. As I listen to someone, I pay close attention to the words they choose to use. And then when it's my turn to speak, I do my best to include similar words, or sometimes even the exact same words they use in whatever it is I'm saying. This indirectly shows the person that I was listening, and it creates a common bond between us that's rooted in language. So what's the easiest way to start practicing these skills? In everyday scenarios. A few ways that I like to practice and how I tell my clients to practice. First, anytime you're in a situation where someone is serving you, like when you're checking out at a grocery store, when you're being waited on at a restaurant, or maybe you're at a coffee shop. Whoever's serving you, look at the person's name tag and then look them directly in the eyes and say, "Thank you, Sarah," or "Thanks, Mike." And if they're not wearing a name tag, take the initiative and ask them what their name is, and then look them in the eyes and say, "Thanks for your help today." A second way that I like to practice these skills is I read a lot of nonfiction and I do a lot of highlighting, or I write down what I read in a book that I find interesting. If you do the same, instead of copying down exactly what's written in the book, restate it in your own words, or restate it in a way that you would say it or explain it to the people that you work with most often. This will help you develop the skill to use simple language and craft clear and direct messages. That's what I have for you today. If you liked what you heard and you want access to a PDF that details the skills and practice steps I talked you through, you can visit the Fit to Speak website, which is www.fit-to-speak.com. And on the website, you can also get more information about one-on-one coaching and upcoming online courses and live events.
All right, now it's time for the Body by Boyle online.com. Hit the gym with the Strength Coach segment. Become an insider to Mike Boyle's strength conditioning with staff meetings, in-services, and complete access to the MBSC programs. Check it out at bodybyboyleonline.com. Today, I got on longtime strengthcoach.com member and contributor Pat VanGalen. And Pat is the founder of Active and Agile, maximizing mobility throughout the ages. Her active upbringing, like anybody my age or older, we had those active upbringing where we just 4 seasons of doing everything and playing every sport, being outside, physical labor. And that really lit the fire for Pat. And she ended up at Springfield College, got her BS in physical education, and she started teaching and doing PE, coaching, and that launched her movement career. And so she kind of got deeper into it and returned to Springfield and got her master's in physical education. And, she's lived all over the world. She's continued to teach, coach, train, lecture all over the world, including like China and France. And she's just did her lecture, Agility, Can We Keep It, for the Perform Better Summer Series, which, by the way, will be available soon for everybody on the Perform Better app. And Pat claims she's reached her final destination in the beautiful Big Sky, Montana. I spent some time out there working in Yellowstone for a couple of years, and I'm so jealous of where she lives. But she's got no plans to slow down. Actually, she's trying to ramp up her services. And we're going to talk about, this idea about maxing mobility and really, staying active throughout all your years, including up to the 90s. And I love that Pat includes that into the 90s because my plan is to live to 105. So Pat, thanks for coming on.
Anthony, thanks so much for having me. And yeah, you will be around in your 90s, so you better be skiing and hiking and golfing.
Absolutely. I plan on it. That's it's one of my missions in my life. So my personal mission, 105. And so I plan on, and that's an active 105. So there's going to be some kind of a.
We all pray to live long and die short.
There you go. Pat, so like I said, you've been all over the world, really. And we talked about this earlier. You graduated from Springfield in the 70s. And there's not a lot of people who retire as like a strength coach or trainer, and you're still out there like Mike Boyle, like Dan John, Al Vermeil. I mean, you guys are still spreading the message, and you weren't just spreading this message. You weren't somebody who kind of got to be, 55 years old and said, I need to talk to 55-year-olds. You've really been spreading this message for a long time, haven't you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I love working with kids, and I love working with the frail 80-year-old. I love it all. I just love working with people, and you change their lives. So that's why we do what we do, all of us. And, I think being a PE major was fantastic because the physical literacy component we got out of that is a lot of what's missing in adult training. And, so that in the 90s is when I really started looking at the aging thing. Okay, yeah, we're getting stronger. Yeah, we've got some decent cardiovascular fitness, but hell, we can't even move. We can't skip. We can't hop. We can't get up and down. We can't negotiate any kind of obstacle, So that's when I really started looking at the motor component, the literacy component. So, but I love it all. I love all the age groups. I love all the levels. I can't say I've ever trained a professional athlete, but a lot of D1ers and high school kids that, went on. So, I just love it all. And I'm not going to stop until I can.
All right. I love it. Well, it's funny because that's why I was really interested when you had asked, you had kind of sent me a message about coming on the show and talking about some of this stuff. And for me, when I started my demographic was, and everybody knows this who listens, is like really golfers from 50 to 85. And obviously I had people who weren't golfers as well. And what I started to feel like when it hit home for me was I had a couple of clients who I felt like really needed this idea, exactly what you said. The PE idea was missing in adult training. And I have a degree in marketing and I didn't get into training till I was 36. But my thing was when I learned about what Titleist was doing with their kids and this idea of the Titleist cyclone and these circuits about almost like making a playground out of the gym. That fascinating. That's exactly what you're talking about, is like getting these things like this playground idea to adults. But how do we do that in the gym is really what I think the hardest part of it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And well, first you have to get people to realize why we're doing it, and even trainers. But the second thing is, I think when we do all of our prep and our dynamic warm up, that's the place you do it, and you make it fun. That is the key. But it can't be, you'll see a lot of these adult games. I call them kiddie games. You don't treat an adult like a kid. If they've been, they're a working adult, they've maybe played sports, you don't talk down to these people. You ramp it up. And so you may take the concept of, say, balance and agility and make it some type of a game, but it cannot be a kiddie game. That just does not work. And so I always include as many of these components as I can: agility, balance, coordination, power, reaction, and speed in the prep. So it's fun too, and it's different.
Yeah,
to make it different, they still have to focus. And that's the key, because what happens, as you know, in a lot of our prep, it becomes mundane and they just sort of slop through it. Well, what the hell are we doing this? Sorry, whoops. What's the purpose of this? And it just becomes sort of this rote thing versus a challenging. We have to provide opportunities that are challenging, and it can't just be repetitive. So that's what I do. I use it in all of my prep, all of it, for every adult.
Yeah, and so you actually had a great article on your website, linked on your website, where it's buckets and baselines, and it's the simple 7. I really want to go over this because I felt like you did a great job with this article for trainers. Obviously, we're talking to trainers here, and why I think this is so important. Like you said, I mean, you might be thinking you're training young people now or people in their 30s, whatever, but obviously they're going to get older. And as you stay in this business, you realize how important it is to kind of keep working with these people. And you end up wanting to work. I found myself, my client Dan Silver used to say to me, "And I don't know how you work with all these old people." It was actually so much better because they appreciated it, number one, and they felt like they got so much more out of it. And that's why I think this is important. I think you did a great job with this article where you basically, it's the buckets and baselines, a simple 7. We'll have a link to it. But I do want to go over it because I think you did a good job of going over the 7 and then relating it in an easy way to what a trainer really needs to do with their clients. So let's start out. Stability and suppleness is your first one. Just elaborate, and what are some of the things that you're looking for with this?
Well, this goes back to our baby bucket, the neurodevelopment sequence of, can we link the joints? Can we transition from basically the neurodevelopmental steps where we roll over, we sit up, we crawl, we stand. Those things really go out the window because people avoid the floor like the plague. And their movement sphere is basically from their knees to their shoulders. That's it. So unless we can get that kinetic chain working right, so we can get the kinks out of the chain and get back to the very basic fundamental patterns that we learned as a baby within the first 2 years, that is where we need to start.
So give us some examples of what you're doing, because obviously that sounds like from the ground up type of an approach.
It is totally from the ground up. It goes back to foam rolling. You get down on the ground. You get your core connecting the shoulder girdle to the pelvic girdle. You're able to just negotiate from floor to stand and back down again. It's basically the whole kinetic chain functional movement system, but starting from way, way back. As an adult who maybe has not been down on the ground or sit cross-legged in 10 years, we got to start there. And some may never get that back, but we still have to try to pursue how we developed originally from infancy to 2 years. So, we're crawling, we're rolling, we're planking, we're doing our mobility work. We're all of that very, very basic stuff that we do as part of our prep in our workout session. So, but Anthony, I'm gonna reverse the buckets on you, because since I've done this before, The last bucket in those articles is the spirit bucket. And that is the one we address first. That's your mindset towards aging.
Really? Okay. So how do you do that?
That is, I do it now in a different order, but for this particular publication, I did it different. But just for trainers in general, coaches, people working with people, hey, and I'm talking 35 plus. I'm not talking 50 plus. I'm talking 35 is when you change that mindset. And people who've been in athletics and in our field, we already have the mindset. We're not going to, just stop training. We won't. But the average person can't say, oh God, I'm so busy with work, kids, family, responsibilities. I got no time to train. All of a sudden you're 60 and you haven't done squat in 30 years and you expect to get that all back in 3 weeks. Sorry. So it's this mindset towards aging. And it's all really now about rewiring. Nobody retires anymore. They go on to something new and different. And this whole thing, this spirit thing, your mindset, how you perceive the last 30, 40 years of your life and prepping and prehabbing for them for the long haul. And, we don't have physical jobs anymore. So unless people train, they don't have any physical activity to do. So we have this, it's a mindset. And yes, it's never too late to start, but it sure as heck is better to never stop.
Pat, what are you saying though? So you're saying this is first. So what exactly, what are you saying to people? What are you doing to try to change that mindset or to make sure that they have that positive mindset towards aging like you talk about?
First thing, let's say I have a new client. First thing I ask them is, what do they like to do? What do you do that's physical, that's fun? What do you like to do? Now, do you want to keep doing that when you're 60, 70, 80, 90? Do you want to teach your grandkids maybe to ski or play golf? People a lot of times think, oh, your training is just so you feel good about yourself. No, it's totally not about that. Yeah, we want health and well-being first, but then we want to be able to do all those things that training allows us to do. And so my first question is on my health history. I don't care how old you are. I don't care about every single freaking condition you got. I want to know what you like to do and why you're here to see me, because my job is to help you perform better outside the gym, in life, the game of life. So it facilitates a discussion. And you know what's sad sometimes, Anthony? People don't have anything they like to physically do. So we got to find something.
Do you think it's not that they don't like it, it's that they're afraid?
They're afraid they're going to get hurt, or they're afraid they're going to look stupid.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I was never athletic, I could never do that. But once you get people talking and really looking at, where do you want to live? Do you want to be able, do you want to live in an apartment? Do you want to downscale to flats with no stairs? Okay, well, if you're going to do that, then you better train so you can still climb stairs. This whole mentality of downsizing and making life convenient and comfortable, that is the worst thing for an aging adult unless they replace it with training and some other purpose in life. People need a reason to get up in the morning, and that's the spirit. So people talk about retiring. Well, what are you going to do when you retire? Some people have a full plate and they're ready to go. Others, after about 6 weeks, are like, okay, golf is nice. My friends are nice, but I got to have a reason to get up in the morning. So training is the means to have the energy to do all those things.
Absolutely. I like that you put that first. So, okay, let's go back. Now we got that set. We know what we're trying to accomplish. I love this idea about, like you talked about the ground up. I actually had a woman, she was 82, and she came in and she said, I had a little problem the other day. I fell and I was having a problem getting up. So I taught her this modified version of the get up. And basically the first thing she did every time she came in, I had her get up 5 times on each side with this new modified get up. And I got to say, a couple weeks later, she did fall, and she's like, I got up so quickly. Thank you so much. It was amazing. And it strengthened her in so many different ways. But those were things that I looked at to kind of put in, like you said, in this idea about that stability and suppleness, really stability, mobility, I guess we could say.
Oh, yeah. How the terminology, different people use different things, but it's just getting the body to work as a unit is basically what it is. And if you got a kink in the chain, something above or below is going to suffer. So,
yeah.
But you're exactly right. I think the big mistake, and I think it's getting better. I think a lot of people are doing their best, including you. But training must transfer to life outside the gym, unless your entire life purpose metric is in the gym. And this is where people who've never, I think, had the chance to experience sport, adventure, growing up with physical labor, swinging on ropes, trees, any of that kind of stuff, they have they don't have a good sense of joy of what physical activity can bring to them. And so our training must transfer, just like we do with an athlete. I mean, you got a field hockey player, volleyball player. We're training them to perform better on the court, on the field, on the slope, whatever. It's not about what you can do in the gym. That's what I say. And I think Coach Boyle said this. It's the means to an end. It's not the end.
Absolutely. Well, I want to, Coach Boyle also talks a lot about that we lose power quicker than we lose strength as we age. And your number 2 here is speed. And so somebody might look at this and be like, Pat, okay, you just talked about somebody who said they're never athletic. They haven't done anything in 30 years. And now you're basically in the article you were talking about, can I sprint or run if I had to? That's we want to make sure. But can I walk a mile, no hills in 15 minutes, which is pretty fast for somebody who hasn't done anything in a while. Talk to us this idea about speed and what you're looking at and how you're going to accomplish this.
Yeah. The second bucket was gait speed, and I look at gait speed from risk factors for fall is a very, very slow gait and a very uneven gait. So if we can, and you say faster, I always say faster than you're used to moving. Okay, I didn't say I want you sprint. Faster than you're used to, and it's relative, right? So if I have a guy who's 70 and he's been, moving and grooving 4 seasons a year, I would totally treat him differently than a 70-year-old who comes in and hasn't been doing squat. So it's all progressive. Where are we? What have you been doing for the past so many years? Okay, let's see where you're at. How fast can you walk a mile? Could you walk a mile? And then we will progress from that baseline to get you to maybe a certain benchmark or metric based on what you want to be able to do. And that's the thing, Anthony. People say, well, how much for who? I say, it's all about what do you want to be able to do? It's health and well-being first, by far. We don't compromise that to take crazy risks. But by the same token, there's standards and metrics and benchmarks for what's healthy. But then where do you want to be able to move really well, confidently, with competence and capacity? So back to your question on gait speed, where are you at? Could we at least see, can you walk fast? Do you have good reciprocal arms, independent hips? Do you have some spring in your step? I can watch that in a 10-yard motion, and then we'll go from there. But there's some, it's just like with strength training. Start where we're at, where are we going, and how much capacity do we need? So gait speed, mainly because it is a major risk factor. If you're walking less than a meter per second, you're heading to the nursing home. That's fact.
Yeah.
So if you think, if you're going on the other end of the street, Usain Bolt, he does 100 meters in 10 seconds and less. So you're looking at, really slow and wide and no spring in the step.
Yeah.
So if there's a perturbation or you have to react to something or you get bumped or shifted, you can't correct.
Yeah.
So
I also always thought about that too, in terms of I try to watch them when they're walking in the facility, because they're not under the watchful eye. They think they're not under the watchful eye, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, watch them put on their shoes. There's so many ways to just observe people, because they act different if they know they're being watched.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this whole thing about slowing down with age, a lot of it is just we become, we're just a victim of the circumstances we live in. So, what are we really capable of doing all the way until we drop? A lot more than many people do or even think they're capable of.
Yeah.
So I try to use these buckets. Let's make sure we're supple and stable. Okay, now let's make sure we can walk pretty fast, because let's face it, locomotion is freedom. And once you lose the ability to walk, and again, I'm not disparaging accidents and serious injuries and stuff like that, your life changes dramatically.
Yep.
And it's very, very sad. So, a lot of people hear the word speed and they think sprint. No. Let's see if we can walk really fast with a nice reciprocal arm swing, independent hip, good posture, spring in my step, and let me see if I can keep that for decades.
Absolutely.
So,
and we had Rocky's.
It could be hiking. It could be walking. Yeah, last resort is a treadmill. I don't care for them, but sometimes that's all you got in the interstate, right?
Absolutely. Or if you live in Big Sky and it's winter out, they might be a little safer on the treadmill. But
well, I got the grippers.
There you go. Okay. We had Rocky Snyder on a couple episodes ago, and he talked all about gait in detail. Definitely another thing to kind of think about and look at, or to learn from when you're looking at some of these things. But let's move on to the next bucket. And I really, again, with this article, I love what you talk about. This is skills: agility, balance, coordination, power, reaction, and the other speed. And what I like what you talk about is, like, you're looking at, look, can you react and stay up if your dog bumps you? Can you catch yourself if you stumble hiking or fly fishing? Again, very Montana specific, but yeah, absolutely. Like, these are everyday things. Talk to me about some of the things that you're trying to do with your clients that are going to help them with their agility, balance, coordination, power, reaction, and speed.
Okay. In a training session, that I do, there's so many people always ask, Pat, where did you get your ideas? It's called Elementary PE 101. It's games is basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doing different drills. Some are very, very reactive. Some are practiced. You take things as simple as skipping. Every single adult, period, should be able to skip. That's power. It can be speed. It is plyos. It is balance. It is coordination, and it is agility. So skipping, but changing directions in your skipping. Every single thing we do to prep an athlete for a training session is exactly what we should be doing for adults. It may not be as fast. It may not be as complicated. It may not be as reactive or random, but it is exactly the same. So that bucket needs to be full. And Anthony, well, it's part of your dynamic prep. So we skip, we hop, we leap. We use, I think I did something for Boyle back a while ago. We were using bean bags for eye-hand coordination, catch, toss, right hand, left hand, turn around, pivot and catch. And the good thing about bean bags, they don't roll. So if you miss, no big deal. I had my 70, 80-year-old women doing this kind of stuff. The other thing that really makes people move well, and our field, strength and conditioning, doesn't always like to hear this, it's called dance. It's absolutely fantastic for the left-right brain. It is coordination. It is balance. It is agility. Not as reactive because it's rehearsed. So that is one huge component. And back to your original question, people, yeah, you might see them twice a week. What else do you like to do? Well, you know what? I used to be a really good polka dancer. Well, get it. You want plyometrics, you polka. So I always try to combine something outside the training that fosters these physical literacy skills. if you look at dancers and they never stop dancing, they don't usually fall.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's untapped. We live in such a convenient, safe, smooth, stable environment. Anything to reduce injury because you get your butt suit off, that we don't have any challenge. Yeah. Our proprioceptors are like falling asleep. I say we live in proprioceptive Deadsville because everything's so perfect. So, and then people, Pat, you're crazy. You cannot be asking ladies in their 70s to do a crossover step and catch a ball or catch a beanbag. Oh, yeah, you can. You sure can. You don't do it the first day. But the other thing is, they're not thinking about how to. They just do it, and it's fun. And it transfers outside the gym. So absolutely. This is a huge missing bucket, and I will give Mike this. The CFST guys do an awesome job with this. Yeah. They really do. But you look at the average trainer who's never really worked in athletics and gets the performance prep idea, or they never practiced a sport that required all kinds of agility, random reactive stuff. They don't understand that piece, and it's huge and it's missing, but you got to have some strength before you go do that stuff.
All right. Well, that's a good segue. And before we get to that, though, I will say somebody just posted the other day on Facebook or something, one of those things. When I was a kid, we had to take square dancing in gym, in PE. So, when you're a kid, you're like, why do we got to do this in gym? I wanted to play floor hockey personally, but,
yeah.
But there was obviously some reasons why we did that. So,
well, and I get that because most guys don't like to dance. They just don't. I wasn't any great dancer, believe me, but at Springfield College, you did ballet, you did folk, you did square, wow. you did it all. And then you were doing gymnastics and field sports and everything else. So it's just a missing thing because our environment is so safe, so stable that we don't get challenged.
Yeah.
And we lose it. And that's all the regions of the brain. You've probably been following some of the brain stuff. But yeah, this is all about sensory brain training.
Yeah, and I think it lends itself to this idea about random training as well. When you're dancing, it's going to end up being more random because, like, if you are on a dance floor, you are moving, you have to read your partner, you have to read any other people on a dance floor. So it does kind of lend itself a little bit more to this idea about random training. So I like that idea.
Yep. Yeah. And Anthony, there's a group of women out there that never did sport. Anything growing up, anything physical like that. They will do fitness training and they may do Pilates and some of the other different disciplines. But I say to people, if you're going to pick 3 things, walk fast, dance, and lift.
There you go. Love it. Well, let's talk about strength because I like the way, again, you have to, in the words of Coach Boyle, speak coach to people, right? We have to speak adult to people and let them understand why some of this strength stuff is important. You talk about, can they carry a basket of laundry down the stairs confidently? Can they climb into a truck with ease? Can you lift groceries, kids, topsoil? Can you carry them as needed, right? Can you shovel dirt or snow or maintain my property? Can you lunge in directions quickly and with decent form, pop out of a chair on 2 legs with no hands? Do you just follow this kind of idea of climb, step, lift, carry, hinge, lunge, squat, pull, push, or talk to us about strength with your older, with your seasoned, as you like to call them, clients?
I would say everybody, I treat them the same. It's just the level, push, pull, hinge, carry, squat, lunge. Definitely be able to get down, up, down, and up from the floor, roll over. All the same. It's all the same. It's just we start them, regress them, progress them at a different level. That's all it is. There is no real difference. I don't say I avoid any of the buckets. You got to keep them all full, or in some cases, we got to repair them, patch them, and then try to fill them back up to a certain level.
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm a total, I think I'm going straight out here. The CFSC does a fantastic job of progression and regression. The buckets are the same. The movements are the same. It's just who you got in front of you, where do they want to go, and how do we get them there? So no, as probably the only thing, oh, here I go. I'm yak. But no, kettlebells, dumbbells, bands, body weight. If there's a person who, I wouldn't say I do a lot of bar type work, on the shoulders or front squats, back squats. It's usually more kettlebells, dumbbells. Plus, I think my personal opinion is anything that you do single arm, single leg, reciprocal arm, reciprocal leg, that is absolutely fantastic for gait and it transfers. No, I would say I stick to the basic movements, and there's, oh my gosh, so many variations of each. I try to get them sound in each area: push and pull, carry, hinge, squat. And I still think the lunge is important. Lunge transfer to step, but it's the stepping up and the stepping down that's really important. Stepping down is a balance thing. And people can't put on the brakes in the quads, they fall. So eccentric braking, plyos, all good. Same thing. It's just not to the level of what people think elite athletes are doing. It's still the same thing. A skip is plyos.
Sure.
Leaps and bounds are plyos. They just don't go as high or as far, but it's the same darn thing.
Yeah, Pat.
So it's about how robust do you need to be from a health and well-being standpoint. Yeah, you want to preserve muscle. Yes, you want to stay strong. You want enough for good dense bones. You want that nervous system to be firing and wiring so you can transition from place to place, position to position. So it's all the same thing, but we have to connect the dots. And it's all about movement, not stationary exercises. And you get that.
Pat, we do get that. But the problem is, and talk to me about this, is the reason why you like to talk about spirit first and almost creating, it sounds like you want to create buy-in, because have you gotten pushback from some of the older adults on some of this programming?
Actually, you develop a relationship with people. And so you start out with things that they're fairly successful at, and then you dangle the carrot and you push them out of their comfort zone. And then all of a sudden they realize, well, I really can get up and down off the floor. I really can walk that fast. Oh, by the way, I had no trouble moving this rock on my property. So you can't just slam them with this spirit thing if they don't have it, but you can certainly feel them out, see what they like and want to be able to do, and then just progress from there. Pushback, no. I think I'm gonna say men and women here different. Remember, I've been at this for a long time, from young girls all the way up through 90s. They're fearful of getting hurt. Guys, not so much. I think guys are sometimes more concerned about looking stupid. Now, What do you think about that?
I think you're 100% right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So taking that fear factor away, and this is where the progressions come in. It's stair-step progressions. Oh my God, I just did that. Or holy cow, I haven't done that in 10 years. I can't believe I did. Well, of course you can do it. We build confidence. That's the number one thing we do.
Also,
number one thing we do.
I think your passion.
And that's the whole aging thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And your passion obviously shines through. Just so everybody knows, that's Pat, not me or anybody in the background banging. That's Pat while she's talking, banging. I can't help it. I know it is you, because I can't see her, by the way, but I could tell when she gets a little loud, she starts banging. So you can tell the passion in there, and you need that. And people get a quicker buy-in when they know you're passionate about some of this stuff. So I'm breaking a little bit on you, Pat, but
this is great. No,
your passion is there, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
Talk to me about stamina, though, too. That's another thing. I think this is something that's you're not going to have as much worry about the buy-in anyway, because people do feel like, hey, I used to be able to walk down to the store. I used to be able to, like you talk about, hike or bike or cross-country ski. And now, I'm sucking wind carrying my skis to the car.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do? And again, how do you approach this? I know it's the same as athletes, but how are you approaching this with your older clientele?
Well, I try to get people to do something every day. And that doesn't necessarily mean formal training. To move physically every single day. I still believe that you need 2 good, solid training sessions a week if you have 7 days that address all the buckets. And if you don't have time in the session to do any kind of interval training for stamina, then I encourage them to do it on their own. But movement every single day, whether it's physical labor, whether it's a hike, a walk, work in your yard, whatever. So something every single day. But what do? I actually take funny, I've been doing this for years. I take a weekly plan, 7 days, and say, okay, what are you going to do today? These are the 2 days, let's say you see me or you come to my small group training, whatever. Okay, now, what else you got going? Well, actually, I'm working on this project at home, so I'm hauling this. Okay, there's two of the days. Okay, what about the other days? Well, oh yeah, I do have this big dog and I walk him twice a day. Good. Keep that up. Don't stop. And yeah, I know I'm really stiff in the hips and I need to do a few things at home with my foam roller. And I try to get them to work that into their day, maybe when they're watching TV or whatever. But no, if you do 2 really comprehensive training sessions, you can cover the buckets pretty well, 2 days a week. But then the other days, they need to do something every single day. And movement, I don't care what it is. Move, get out of the damn chair and away from the screen. So some
Absolutely.
people I use tech. Simple people like pedometers. They still like the step thing. Others like all the high tech stuff. Other people they don't need any of it. So, back to your question, stamina is your cardiovascular health. It's your pulmonary health. It is your metabolic health. And it's also daily movement is the key to aging really slow.
I agree.
They're trying to package it and they can't. Every pharmaceutical company that's trying to beat this aging thing, and it's amazing. I read all this crazy molecular stuff, but they're trying to package what exercise does in a bottle. And to this day, nope. And you know yourself, you can have a perfect diet, you can manage your stress. You don't move, you're done. So it's just as essential as food and water, movement. And we have to get that motion out there too. And I'm not saying you run around like a Energizer bunny all day long. I'm not saying that at all. But we can't have this thing, okay, 30 minutes this morning, I'm done with for the day, I park my ass. No, that doesn't work when you're 50 plus.
Yeah. Hey, that's why I love my dog, Emma, and I and my wife a lot. We do minimum 3 miles a day. And I use the backpacks from Go Ruck. So I usually have 30 to 40 pounds on my back when I do that, but I don't count that as exercise at all, either. So those are just things that I make sure that I do. If there's stairs, I take them. All of these things that you're talking about, like what can you do in your life? Where are your current, like in your current lifestyle? Because I love your quote at the end of this article. Do I change me or do I change my environment? That's really a great thing to ponder.
Well, that's the thing you have to counter this aging thing that, oh my gosh, you better slow down. Okay, you better downsize. You better hire out. You can't do that stuff anymore. Well, hell, now I got more time than when I was working my full career, raising kids, running around like a nut. I need to do more, not less. I need to do more. And if I am going to downsize, I better fill in all of those holes that I used to have in my house, like stairs, like physical labor. Yeah, you got to fill those holes. You can't just expect to walk away from that. You got to fill them. So yeah.
I love that idea because I think of my parents. They went to Florida, and I always say, it's great for them because my mother used to carry the laundry down the stairs. And, they're older. They're both 80 now. And so all right, they had to go up a stairs, and I worried about it in the winter because of the ice or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't have that now in Florida. And so I never really thought about, that should have been something that they added specifically because it's something that was been taken away from them with their downsizing of their home.
Sure. Well, there's a point where you always have to look at risk and benefit.
Of course.
I get that. You don't compromise safety. But, we don't live to be safe and healthy. We live safely and healthily to live life. Hello.
Absolutely. I also, the other quote, and this is the last or the sixth bucket that you said, and this is obviously once you get everything, all the main buckets in, the specificity bucket. Look, I get what I train for. I keep what I do. That is brilliant. That is, I love, because then people understand, well, you keep what you do. That's just, use it or lose it. Similar quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just people, I can see, you go through college, you're very active, and then the first couple of years you're active, but maybe then people get into a work cycle or a family cycle that they have less time. I get that. You can get away with shorter, harder workouts when you're younger to kind of fill the health bill, fill the well-being bill. But once you get past 50, you really got to put the hammer down and do more. And so the specificity thing, and you see it everywhere. Oh, you better slow down. Or don't you dare climb on that ladder. You're going to fall. Or don't you dare put those ice skates on. You're going to fall. No, I've been ice skating my whole life. I'm not stopping. Leave me alone. I've been on that roof every single year, cleaning the gutters. Leave me alone. Don't be yelling at me. I'm not on any medications. I can see well. I got good balance. Let me up on the roof. So, it's a mindset. And this is the biggest thing we have to change with aging. And I'll have to say, people do it to each other. I can't tell you, Anthony, the number of women who have said to me, well, you never this, or you never that, or you're showing off. No, I'm not showing off. I'm just training.
Yeah.
So it's out there, and you know how people are when they feel like, well, because I can't, she shouldn't, So it's a mindset. So I just tell people, you keep doing what you like to do and don't stop.
Yeah.
And train so you can. That is what training does. So yeah, it's just, there's, what is it, the stats? There's 70,000 people each day in the United States that turn 70. And if people want to be trainers and coaches, they need to get a handle on this population.
Absolutely.
Because the mindset's changing, and they want to keep going. They want to travel. They want to do things. They want to, one of the incentives I have is, sure, we live out here, but I don't have any grandkids yet, and I am going to have them, and I got to teach them to ski. So I better just keep on skiing. So it's just, it's more than just your own personal self-satisfaction. It's all about traditions in your family. It's about, there's so many things bigger than just what the training does for you physically. It's how you reach out to other people. And I think that's, it's just, we can do so much as trainers. And I think trainer coaches, we have such a potential here, and people are going to be tapping us like, Pat, we need you to straighten this person out and help them away. And COVID has even, brought more of that up. You got to build your immune system. You got to train.
Yeah. Pat, let's just finish up here with just kind of like almost an overview. And you kind of almost did it right here, right now with this. But so my biggest takeaway from what you're saying because you just said it, like a lot, the excuse will be, well, I have to do this, or Pat, you don't do this, or I have a bad knee, or whatever. So my thing is, we got to start, or your thing is, we got to start with the spirit first. We got to talk to them. We got to meet them really where they are and start. It's the same buckets, but we got to just really meet them where they are and start really at the, the bottom progression and find out from them, listen to them. What do they like to do? What are some things that they want to do? And just try to get them to understand that they can do it. It might take a little time, but it's about consistency, and it's about having that mindset to believe that you can do it, and we can get you there. Can you just summarize as well? Like that's my big takeaway from, because I know people are going to be out there, well, I'm getting these excuses and I'm getting this, and people are afraid to do that. So I just wanted you to kind of finish up with that.
Yeah, well, I always tell my clients there's excuses and reasons. So you got to know the difference.
Yeah.
And let me help you with that. So, the knee thing is huge. All right, well, let's see what we can do about this knee. I'm assuming they've had, their history. Maybe they've had some PT or whatever. But no, we work with that. And it's all about the confidence in their ability to move. And I guess it is selling to a point for some people. It's about doing this so you can do more outside this gym. And that is the main thing. It's the transfer of the training outside the gym. And yes, some people, especially women, still focus way too much time on how they look. If you want to fight frailty with a freaking vengeance, you better fill those buckets, especially the strength bucket and especially the physical literacy bucket. So, I always talk about, you've heard it, show and go. You want to show and look good in the coffin, or you want to go and move, So women are outliving the men, and they spend 15 years dependent. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
So you can bend that curve. You can bend that aging curve. So it's about getting the buckets, repairing, restoring the buckets. And some people's buckets are a heck of a lot worse than others, especially people who've had injuries or accidents. They're a little bit more challenging to work with. Metabolic people, they're actually quite easy to work with because a lot of them never played sport and they aren't hurt.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So, but yeah, it's train so you can. Do not stop. Do not stop. Do and keep doing the things you love to do, and add new ones.
There you go. Add new ones. I like it. That's the where we want to kind of make sure that people understand that and don't take them away. Keep adding. So, Pat, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, your passion for this stuff is overwhelming, and we really appreciate you kind of relating this. Obviously we're speaking to strength coaches here, and we're preaching to the choir, but just gave some great strategies and really relating it to that population to let them understand how important this stuff is. And I will have some links to to Pat's website at Active and Agile and her articles at Mountain Grit. So Pat, thanks again for doing this.
Hey, Anthony, I really, really appreciate it. And anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer. And sorry about the claps and the slaps.
Those are awesome. All right, that's going to do it for episode 299 of the Strength Coach Podcast. Remember, you can try strengthcoach.com out right now, 30 days, just $1. You'll have access to all the articles, videos, and programs, as well as the best forum on the net. It's the only place to have full access to Coach Boyle. He's on every day. To access that offer, go to strengthcoach.com. Click the Join Now button to get started on your trial. Special thanks to Chris Parrier and the folks over at Perform Better. Remember, holiday sale, it's huge. 40% off select items. Over 100 items on sale. Do not miss this. Check it out at performbetter.com. Thanks to Coach Boyle and Pat VanGalen for sharing their insights and philosophies into the world of strength and conditioning, performance enhancement, and active and agile lifestyles. Thanks to Adam and Tim and TrainHeroic. Coach Boyle and I use TrainHeroic to deliver all of our online training. Head over to TrainHeroic.com and start your free 14-day trial. Thanks to Jenny Rearick for the Fit to Speak segment. Check her out at fit-2-speak.com. fit-2-speak.com. Thanks to Kevin Carr and Brendon Rearick. Check them out at Certified FSC. It's Certified Functional Strength Coach, right? CertifiedFSC.com. My name is Anthony Randall. My new book, Be Like the Best, consists of 50 interviews with top fitness pros. And after each interview is a Be Like, an action step or a challenge that will help you be like the best. Check it out at continuefit.com or belikethebest.com. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you next time.